so much, Brian, for that. So I'm Adarsh. Some of you may pronounce it as Adarsha. I'll respond to that. Adarsh, whatever. You guys take a pick. There's a whole lot of variations of that. So I am the startup lead with Microsoft and a tech evangelist. The reason why I applied for the job is because I found the word tech evangelist sounding really good. I was like, hey, I'm going to apply for the job. Luckily, I got it. So as a startup lead, what I do is I interface with startups. I work with startups and help the business grow from a technology side of things as well as a business side of things. And one of my main focus areas is definitely to try and find out what's new and what's latest and what's next in the technology, because that's where the startups are really coming from. So I really need to know a lot of what's new, what's next. It's interesting because you're always learning. It's also hard because sometimes startups come and ask you a lot of questions. You're like, hey, you know what? I don't know. I've not played around with it yet, but let me figure it out for you. So it's always playing around with the interesting and the new technology, so it's good fun. So today I'm going to talk about chatbots. How many of you have used any kind of chatbots out here? What have you used?
Oh, Messenger and Kit.
Okay, yeah, cool. Anything else?
Slack,
any particular use cases?
Slack, what?
Any particular use cases? Like, you know, you...
I haven't ordered a pizza with the chatbot.
Oh, you haven't?
No.
No, that's just a demo bot.
Yeah, just a demo bot. Yeah. Just was buying just on the Messenger weather one.
Okay, cool.
I have a couple on my phone.
Right. Have you liked the experience, John?
A little bit. Some of
Okay.
them I've removed after an hour of doing.
Right.
Training.
Okay, cool. Anyone else? Anyone else has used anything to do with chatbots? Yeah.
I might be the minority here, but I have no idea what a chatbot is.
Okay, that's the best place to start with, I guess. So basically, you've used anything on text. You've texted your friends and everyone on messages. Now imagine if at all for example, I'm in Loblaws, okay, and I am looking out for a particular item, and I don't know where to find it, right? So I'm going to find out one person from Loblaws who will be running around there and asking, hey, this is the item I'm looking for, which aisle do I go to? Then he's going to tell you, go to aisle number 7. Okay? Now think about that experience. Second experience is you have a friend who knows everything about movies. Okay, and you just ping him up, hey, I'm interested to watch something, a thriller movie today. Which one should I watch? So he spits an answer back to you saying, hey, you know what, this is the movie I watched. It's got a rating of this much on IMDb. I think you should watch this one. Okay? Now imagine automating that experience. There's a bot sitting out there, a bot as in a robot, short form of a bot, who understands you as a person, so like a personalized touch to the feeling, and you just ping him and ask him, hey, I feel this mood today, I want to watch something in the movies in the 1980s, what movie should I watch? And he's going to run through the IMDb database or whichever database and curate a list of movies for you and spit it out to you. So automating that experience through a chat interface is a chatbot. Now the first experience I spoke about in Loblaws is when I'm going and talking to someone. Now imagine this. Now the experience is for me to actually find that person first, and then he's going to tell me to do that. Now suppose that entire experience gets automated. I have a Loblaws contact on my phone, on whichever messenger I'm using. It can be WhatsApp, it can be Skype, it can be just text. Or, so I have that contact on my phone, and I say, hey, Loblaws bot, this is what I'm looking for, and this is the store I'm in. It's going to spit out to you, you should go to aisle number this to get this stuff. So it saves so much time for you. It saves Loblaws the money to actually have people running around the store to help customers like yourself. So it helps you as a customer, it helps Loblaws from a business perspective with respect to costs. Okay? So that's what a chatbot is. Another experience you can think about is when you're on a website of a particular product, right? One chatbot comes up that says, hey, can I help you today? Right? In the olden days, or even now, a lot of companies right now actually has a person sitting live 24/7 waiting for someone to ask that particular product line. And then that person is going to help you through. Right? In the world today, it's actually going to get automated by a bot. Because when I go to a website, I only have 5 or 6 different intentions. I want to find out about the product. I want to find out which versions exist. I want to find out the price of the product. You don't need a person sitting 24/7 just to answer these 5 basic things. That process can be automated. Okay? And one of the most important, if you think about it yourself, that particular bot should understand natural language. So there should be a natural language processing engine in the back end to try and understand the language that you're talking to him. And it should be able to spit out answers to you. So it should have access to another database where it can look up and find out the answer you're looking for and spit it out to you. Right? So there are a lot of use cases of chatbots happening in the world today. What I'm here to talk to you is not the developing part of it, but just to give you an idea about what chatbots are. And thanks for the question. I think it gave a good lead to the question as to give you an idea about what chatbots are and why are companies really getting interested in these days. Okay, so that's exactly what I'm going to cover. Building a bot in the cloud? No, guys, relax. I'm not going to go through the entire process of building how do you build a bot in the cloud. I'm just here to show you a little demo of how easy it is to actually get started and what are the skills really required to build something on the cloud and tools for adding intelligence, and we're going to talk about this. But before we get into all of this, let's just talk about why now. Why is these bots getting so much attention these days? I love to have animation on my slide, so clearly I did not make the slide, someone else made the slide. But, so this slide is basically talking about trend, okay? In the 1980s, the computers came out. In the 1990s, the internet came into picture, right? At that point of time, every business, in order to get out to its customer base, was making a front page of creating a website for themselves so that people get to know what this company is all about, right? Another way to think about it is the entire brand of the company was being represented online through a website, right? All information about the product and everything is on site. So I, as an end customer, would be looking out for this particular company's website and finding all my information. So that was the 1990s. In 2000s, that experience changed on the mobile, right? People just downloaded apps, and after having downloaded the app, they engage with the app to find out anything they want about the company. Amazon.com, you want to order something, you do it on the app. And the way and the amount of your love for the company is all dependent on the user experience. If the Amazon app is not giving you a user experience, if you're not having a good experience with it, in that case you'll stop using it, right? So your impression or your feeling about the company or the brand image of the company is based on the user experience. And that is the reason why all these big companies started investing a lot in order to have something really cool, a very nice user experience app, because that is what represents the brand for the end user. Okay? So this talk is more around design principles of a bot rather than the technology behind it. We will touch on the technology, but I'm not going to get into the depths of it. Now what is actually happening is, okay, how many of you use 5 apps on your phone regularly? 10 apps? 15 apps? Okay? Now take yourself 10 years ago. How many apps were you using then? Anything you wanted to find out, you're looking for an app. Anything you wanted to find out, you're looking for an app. That trend has actually come down, right? There's this word which I find tough to pronounce sometimes, proliferation of apps. Okay, that's what the world is really facing right now. So what we are facing these days is that there are an app for everything. We don't want another app on the phone. We want to use existing apps to accomplish the functionality that we need, right? And that is the reason why there's a trend of using more and more chats, more and more social platforms. So that's why, from an advertising perspective, social platforms are gaining that much more important because we spend most of our time on social platforms. We spend most of our time on messaging people and engaging with other people, right? And that's the reason why bots are actually getting a lot of attention. So 90% of our time is spent on email and messaging platforms. And this graph actually made a lot of sense to me. So the green one is the big 4 messaging apps, and the black one is the social networking platforms, right? And it has been observed that sometime in 2015, the use of messaging apps have increased more than the social platforms. So we as human beings are trended more towards from a comfort level of using apps to accomplish some functionality that we want, right? And this is where bots are coming into picture. So the same experience of you finishing up with your functionality, that is what bots are actually giving you the experience. So for example, now, if you want to book order a pizza, as you mentioned, right? You probably give a call, there's another person sitting at the behind, takes your order, does that. If you want to do it online, Domino's, you just select your toppings, you select base, you select everything on the web app, and boom, it goes. That's it. Your pizza gets ordered. Now, that same experience, to give it a more personal touch to it, you do it by chatting with someone. You chat with the Domino's app and say, hey, I want a large pizza. Then that guy will spit out to you and say, what base do you want? What toppings do you want? These are the options. You select that and boom, your pizza gets ordered. So it's a more personalized, it's a different kind of an experience, but that's where the world is heading towards. Clear? Any more questions? Cool. Yeah, I like to keep it engaging, so anytime you guys have a question, just stop me. Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question. Chatbot is only used in restaurants?
Sorry, come again?
Where is chatbots actually used? Is it only used in restaurants right
Not necessarily anything. So I gave you the example of Loblaws. Now Loblaws has not yet used it. It's just an example which I was thinking, and I thought I'm going to make it for Loblaws. And told them, hey, this is my new app. Pay me $1 million for this. I'm going to get rich. They want to get happy because this works for them. But I'm sure they're working on this to actually get it out. So, so depending upon different companies, I think each and every company. So for example, when you're buying a product, every product will have an FAQ page, right? It can be 100 questions. So you as an end customer has to go through each and every question and find out. Now that same experience can be made into a bot. I can ask my question and he can find the answer and spit it out to you directly. Yeah? Yeah, you had a question.
Yeah, just a quick question now on the ethical side of things. For example, when I go to a website and I see a chat window,
Yeah.
it has a nice image of a person and a real name.
Absolutely.
Am I talking to a person or a bot, or do we need to tell the visitor that you're talking to a bot?
So in most cases these days, it is an actual person. But then, think about it this way. That person, especially the first few interactions, are very standard, right? That doesn't have to, I mean, from a company cost perspective, you don't have to have a 24/7 person dedicated for the job. When only he's answering, hey, these are the various products, this is the price of the product, this is the product you should be looking into, right? If at all intelligence is embedded into that backend of that intelligence can understand what the customer is looking for and spit out the answer to you directly.
So that's fine. What I was asking, do we need to tell the user that you're talking to a machine and not to a person?
Oh, from a design perspective?
From a user experience perspective, do we need to tell the person that you're talking to a real person?
That's a business decision you got to take. But in general, if I were to design it, I would actually say, hey, I am this bot and I'm here to help you out today, right? So the person knows, but for example, when you talk to Siri, right, you know it's a bot, but you can actually talk to them and give you the real life experience that you're talking to someone, right?
Yeah, I would suspect, I mean, I've used a lot of those chat interactions, and I suspect that some of the responses may be canned to start with, but you can actually tell that the real person actually gets involved at some stage.
Absolutely.
And it may be assigned to somebody, so if they give a name, I'm Mike, I'll be helping you.
Absolutely.
That may not have come from Mike actually even hitting a key. It might be put Mike in the queue,
You're absolutely
and he'll have to respond to your question if it can't be answered by a bot.
Exactly. So there are two ways to look at it. One way to look at it is that it can start off with a bot, and when the bot is incapable of understanding what the user was asking for, then it can relay it to a real person, right? So I actually have a demo ready. I'm going to show you how it works, and probably that'll give you a better idea about how things go. Okay, why bot? So I think we spoke about it. So essentially, if you look at the left, it's supposed to be an animation. It should run right now. Oh, there you go. Cool. So this is kind of an experience which is happening. So you can see, I'm happy to help you. So that's the bot, and these are the things you want to order, and help me find an order. And okay, I see all this order is placed. I found an order in Feb, so this order is given. You can click on this. Is this the order you're looking for? You say yes, and boom, it spits out the answer to you. Okay, so this is an example of how bots are helping. So this person here is the bot, who is just trying to understand what you as a user are asking. And see, the way you're talking is a very natural language, right? Probably March or April, and it contained a pencil holder. Now think about it. When a bot is trying to understand this, there is intelligence embedded in it. There's intelligence embedded in the bot to understand natural language, and the second part of the intelligence is to understand what you are actually trying to find. It is trying to understand context. Okay, so those are the few of the intelligence part, and that's the reason why when I said I'm talking about chatbots, I'm essentially talking about artificial intelligence out here. And that is why chatbots, bot framework, everything falls under artificial intelligence. Okay? So this is, this is something interesting because bots can be thought of as software that performs one or more automated tasks. Okay? They are apps with a new kind of an interface. One of the things I say, do not think of it as an app separately, because essentially what you're doing is you're adding another contact. Okay, this contact can be on your WhatsApp, this contact can be on your Facebook, this contact can be on your Slack, on Kik. All of these are nothing but contacts which are added. Okay, and you're essentially using existing apps such as a Facebook Messenger, a Skype, a Kik, a Slack to actually connect and talk to these guys to get that done. So that's why I'm a little apprehensive in terms of calling it an app. But what is an app? App is a software giving you a native experience on your mobile platform, performing some kind of a functionality, right? That's exactly what bots do. Bots are not always AI, okay? For example, in the previous experience, if it's a Loblaws bot, okay? The Loblaws bot will ask you, hey, which store are you in? And I'm going to say I'm in the Young and Bloor store, okay? Now the Loblaws bot in the backend has a database where all the store exists. So Loblaws bot will do a match and find out, okay, I know this guy. And then I ask the bot, okay, I'm looking for this product. And there's an entire product inventory listing in another database. Loblaws bot does nothing as simple as does a lookup in the database and finds out where this particular product is and spits the answer out to you. That's not artificial intelligence. That is just a simple database query. So all bots not necessarily have to be artificial intelligence. Okay? So it's something to remember and keep in mind that it's not always AI, but for example, if you want to make your Loblaws bot AI, you have to make it understand natural language. Okay? All I can say is that, hey, I am in Loblaws. Now, the Loblaws bot has to have GPS enabled, will understand directly which location you are in, so you don't have to tell them. The Loblaws bot is understanding where you are by default, right? And if at all it has some kind of a macro mapping available, it can even have a macro map come up to you. You are exactly in this spot. You need to go here, here, and here, and find out exactly where it is. So those are the kind of, so more functionality you add to it, little bit of intelligence gets added onto your bot as and when you talk through it. Okay? It's not always text-based. It's not always NLP. NLP is natural language processing. Now the same example I spoke to you about is not necessarily natural language. But natural language is a good way to actually have a bot created, only because whenever you're talking to someone, you want to make it feel natural, right? That's why you want to have natural language processing at the back end to understand what you're trying to talk to the bot. Okay? Now this is actually really important because one of the things which I'm talking to a lot of companies these days, a lot of startups these days is how important is a bot? Now, when you're talking to a bot, okay, the bot and you're interacting with the bot, I'm actually interacting with the company, right? So if that experience goes wrong, my impression of the company goes wrong, okay? So that is why I think you have to realize if at all you guys are creating a bot for your company, then you might want to think about what is consistent to your brand and how do you want to have the entire user flow and the workflow and the dialogue flow embedded into the bot. So from a design perspective, you need to think about that. You need to create something called as a user profile and understand how will this particular user interact with me. Do I want this user to think of me like this or like this? And then you want to spit out answers accordingly. So it has to be very consistent with the brand of your company, okay? So that's representing the brand. It's a new engagement channel. Now, I was working with a manufacturing company, and this manufacturing company was like, hey, you know what? I'm thinking about a thought leadership platform altogether. And then we spoke about not just having another blog site, okay? We spoke about how you can use bot as another sales channel. So for example, if I'm buying, say, product A of this particular company, and this product A is in, say, the beauty, healthcare product lines, okay, in that industry. And every day I'm going to have a chat with the bot. Hey, I'm having this problem. This is what I need. And this is what my issues are right now with my current products. Then they'll spit out, then the bot will spit out from the database saying, hey, based on my understanding, I think you might want to look into this product as your next change, right? So on one aspect, it is educating the user. And by understanding the user better, it's able to recommend what next product to buy, okay? So the bot actually acts like a new sales channel for you guys. So it's a new way of engaging with your end customers. And more your customers are engaged with you, more mind share the customer has of you guys, and more products you're supposed to be, not supposed to be, you are more susceptible to getting more product gains from this particular customer. So think about it as a new engagement channel, because engagement and mind share is very, very key in order to get more traction for your business. Automates and optimizes workflow, we already discussed that. Anyone remembers anything to do with this tweet bot called Tape? Anyone? You remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to say what was it?
Kind of racist.
Yeah, exactly. So, just to give you guys an idea, now this was one of the first tweet bots. Okay? You would tweet at this guy, and this guy would tweet back at you. And this was the first Microsoft AI tweet bot which was created. Now, more it interacted with users, it learned. And it would tweet back answers accordingly. Okay? And so people trained this guy to become a racist and a Nazi guy. So it started tweeting out racist and Nazi stuff. And within 24 hours, Microsoft had their stocks fall a bit. There were news all over the world. Microsoft has trained and created a racist bot. And all this, I mean, Microsoft had not really created that. So that's the power of artificial intelligence, you know? And it's all about training and understanding the end user base, right? So it can go wrong, but you know, it can go right also. So this is an example of how it's important to understand the user workflow, and it actually represents the brand of the company that it's interacting with. Anyone seen Black Mirror on Netflix? Not yet? Yeah, you have? Okay. So some of you are interested in what's future. So Black Mirror is one series on Netflix, and each and every episode is completely different. It's not really related, but it all talks about, so the only disclaimer I can give is that it's not really a deal breaker, but each and every episode is actually depressing. But having said that, it does make you think as to where the world is heading. It does use a lot of artificial intelligence concepts, such as, you know, predicting what's going to happen in the future, understanding different people around, and all those kind of things. So it's pretty interesting for you guys to have a look at it. Now, they've not paid me to do promotion for them. It's just that I saw it the other day and I was like, hey, this is my life right now. This is what I'm talking about with people. So, no, my life is not depressing. It's pretty good. Okay, so one of the other reasons why bots are gaining a lot of popularity is it's fun because you're texting with someone, you can play around with it, and it's very, very functional, right? So you're not installing anything, you don't have to go through apathy, as they call it, and you're actually getting work done. So this is one more example. So for example, Hyatt has launched a Facebook Messenger contact. You can add that contact, and you can chat with him and actually book your room. You can say, hey James, we found a room for you tonight. As simple as that, okay? This is yet another example wherein, I don't know what store is this, 17 I guess. And he's just asking for a shirt, and they ship the shirt, and it's using UPS APIs at the back end to track the particular order. It's getting tracked. And then the next question which I'm giving is, hey, I love this shirt, can I also have this in black? Okay? And they answer it back and say, of course. You know, this is the bot answering back and saying, of course. Your total value will be this much, do you want us to place the order? And instead of saying yes, I'm just giving a thumbs up, which also means a yes. Okay? Now think about what's really happening in the back end. On one hand, the back end, the bot is telling you, hi David, thanks for shopping with us. So it's spitting that answer to you. The bot is tracking it for you and giving you an information. Okay? It is understanding context. You know, I'm just saying, love the shirt. Can I also buy this in black? Now I'm just talking natural language as I was talking to you. But the bot is intelligent enough to actually understand context. It is understanding that you're talking about the same shirt. It is understanding that you are not asking for another of that same shirt, but that shirt in another color. Okay? And most importantly, it is understanding that thumbs up actually means yes. Okay? So think about the intelligence getting embedded behind. You have to essentially train the bot to understand all of these different nuances in which the user is behaving with the app. Okay? So those are some of the design principles you have to think about. And a good way to start is you start from scratch, have a user profile created, and think about how this user will be interacting with the particular bot. Any questions? Yeah?
Let's say my company wants to have this kind of bots, and we want to be in Facebook or WhatsApp and
Yep.
do you do like we have separate bots for all platforms, or we have one bot which will answer all?
I'm coming to that.
Okay.
We'll come when we are building a bot, that's what we're going to talk about. Anyone else? Yeah.
I guess there's also cultural issues that some hand signals mean
Absolutely.
different things in different cultures.
Mhm.
Yes versus no or something else. So,
Absolutely.
so you've got to,
Yeah.
it has to be context
All boils down to context. All boils down to context.
aware.
Yeah, context of exactly. And so this is the way I look at it. More and more so this is something you might have heard. Anyone heard of machine learning? People have heard of machine learning out here, right? Machine learning is a new concept of training a machine to understand you better. So more you interact with it, more the machine actually understands you as better. Think about it, the most simplest analogy for people who have not been introduced to machine learning out here is a baby. When the baby is born, they know nothing. But slowly they learn how to deal with the things around the world, right? Likewise, you're training machines to understand human behavior and culture and those kind of things. And that's how you would want to work with, right? So those are some of the things. This is another example. Let's just directly talk about how do you build a bot. Like, okay, so yes, I work in Microsoft, so what we're going to talk about is a Microsoft bot framework out here, but we're going to touch upon the others also a little bit. Disclaimer from my side, I've not played around with the other frameworks existing, so, but we can talk about it. So, how many of you have built any simple kind of website out here? So we have some people who have built websites out here, that's awesome. So, because the skill that you need to build a bot is essentially web skills. For people who have not built a website, don't feel out of place. You guys are still good. So websites can be thought of as having two main components. One is the UX, the user experience, what you see, the user design part of it, and the backend, which is throwing out answers and spitting out answers and things to you. Okay? So likewise, when you're creating a bot, you essentially have two parts of it. One is the user interface, which can be a Skype, which can be a Facebook Messenger, which can be WhatsApp, which can be Kik, which can be Slack, depending upon whichever platform you're using. And there can be backend, which is going to deal and understand the intelligence of it, and understand what answer it needs to spit out to you. Okay? So there are again two components. And the kind of skills you need to develop a bot is web skills. The example which I have is actually created a Node.js backend. So it's pretty straightforward, we can do. So these are a few of the concepts. One is the bot connector service. So we have essentially something called as a Microsoft bot framework, which is something called as platform as a service. So this platform has been created for you guys to just create the design experience and integrate it with this backend and start using it. So that's the connector service. The bot builder SDK is a software development kit which is being used, and a bot directory where you deploy. Once you have created the backend, okay, once you've created the backend of your bot, you can deploy it across these 9 channels. So currently, as you can see, it's supported on Kik, it's supported on Skype, supported on Twilio for direct messaging, for texts. That is Telegram, if I remember correctly. Sorry, it is, right? Yeah, I believe ISIS uses it the most. But that's Teams, that's Mail, that's Slack, Facebook Messenger, and GroupMe. So these are the 9 supported platforms from a Microsoft's perspective. Having said that, you can also create your own bots using Facebook's bot framework, but you can only publish it on the Facebook Messenger. There are a lot of other ways to actually create it also. I've not played around with those, so I can't really comment on those much, but there are existing frameworks, so before taking the decision. But from a Microsoft perspective, this is actually the value proposition. You create the backend once, and you can deploy it across these few channels. That is one of the value propositions from Microsoft, so you want to build on that. One of the channels which I really want here to come is WhatsApp. It's not yet there because that's what I use the most. I don't know about you guys, but it's not yet there. Facebook is where most people are deploying bots. iOS also has a bot framework to actually create bots and support the bot directory services, but iOS is very close. It's not yet supported by us. Microsoft Bot Framework is open source. It's available on GitHub. You can actually start downloading the SDK and start using it directly even today. Let's skip this. Let's directly get into a little bit of demo. But before getting into the demo, so these are the questions you want to ask when you're designing your bot. What is the core purpose of your bot? Okay. Who is using this bot? That means build a user profile. And who would someone, sorry, why would someone use this bot? Okay. So again, it's design principles. And I think we've spoken about this throughout the talk about what's all happening here. One of the main things which we spoke about, how do you add intelligence? And that was the crux of what we started with, right? We all started with talking about artificial intelligence and how chatbots fit into the artificial intelligence camp, right? And there are a lot of slides. I'm just going to skip most of these slides and talk about one specific thing. Okay, so this is one thing which I'm going to show right now. This is called as language understanding models because it's one of the very key components of giving the user experience that you wanted to give. Okay, this is something called as LUIS, LUIS, Language Understanding Intelligence Services, and using this, you define user experiences. Okay, now think about it. Whenever you're talking to a bot to get some work done, there would be 5 different actions that you want the bot to take. Okay, I can say hi to the bot, and the bot should spit back and say, hello, how can I help you today? Next question you can ask the bot is, hey, what is the weather today like? What is the weather for next week? Okay, you can even ask questions like, what's the breaking news from this particular place, right? So the functionality of the bot is very key for you to define, and based on the functionality of the bot you define, there are 5 to 6 different responses that you will spit out to the user. Okay? Right? So, from a language understanding perspective, the way the model works is we need to define something called as entities and intents. In my conversation with you guys, I'll be conversing about one particular topic. In this case, I'm talking about bots, right? So, my language processing engine at the back end should identify that I'm talking about bots. Okay? When I switch my conversation to cloud, my language understanding capability should be smart and intelligent enough to understand I'm talking about cloud at this point of time, right? So it's all about identifying intents. It's from a dialogue perspective, if at all I want to respond to you, I need to understand what is the intent of this dialogue. What is the intent of this conversation that I'm having, right? So that is how the language understanding model has been built. It needs to identify what you want to accomplish. And that is why point 1 is, or step 1 is, you need to identify what are the different functionalities you want to give. Step 1. And step 2 is, identify how do you want to respond or when that particular functionality or that intent is identified from a bot's perspective. Clear? So let's just have a look. Let's just try to pull out. I hope it works. So here, as you can see, this is on Skype, and I literally created it in like 20 minutes. So there are some errors out here you will see, but it's not a fully functioning bot because I literally created it in 20 minutes. But it will give you an idea. Can you guys read what's happening here? No? Well, no, this cannot be zoomed in. But okay, so let's just assume. Okay, we know what we can do is log into. Can you guys see that now?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is. Okay, am I connected to the internet? So let's just recalibrate this. Just give me a minute. I'll just restart it because it was in a different connection. Okay, so this platform is called as the Azure. It's Microsoft's cloud platform. And we can easily create a bot framework on this platform. And the entire development can be done here. Now this you cannot see for sure. But let me see if this works. So the same thing I can develop here. And I can deploy it on Skype. If you can see, there's something called as channels out here. Okay? You can see this. Right? So these are the different channels you can deploy it on. And if you can see, I can just literally click on Add to Skype. I can click on that button, it goes directly on Skype. Whereas the other ones are also supported. You know, direct line, email, GroupMe, Kik, Teams, Slack, Telegram. So all of that is also supported. The other ones are not the click of a button. For example, if I want to do it on Facebook Messenger, you can click on Facebook Messenger here, and basically walk you through the steps which are involved. Because it's a different platform, you need to register it on the Facebook page and create it as another Facebook app. So, I click on the GroupMe one, I guess. So, but whatever, you get the idea. The steps are mentioned for you how you can deploy it there. But more importantly, okay. So let me just kind of go back to the develop part of it. Okay, so as you can see, I say hi. Okay, I say hi out there, say hey there. I believe you're right with me, so I wish you have a great day ahead. Okay, so it understood when I said hi. Okay, when I say hey, oops, something went wrong. Okay, this is not cool. Clearly, I should have built this a little early and trained it well enough. What's happening?
You crashed it.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, this sucks. Yeah, I just need to restart the bot. Just give me a moment. Okay, so while this comes up, any questions around natural language understanding process out here while that actually comes up? Okay. Sure. Exactly. Good question. So this is what is. Okay, this can be increased. Okay. Everyone can see this? You want a little bigger? Okay, so essentially, is this decent, big enough size? Okay, so this is called as a Lewis, okay? And here is, as you can see, this is not really a development, it is a platform. There's no coding involved out here, okay? And I'm training this guy to understand natural language, okay? So whenever I say hi, tell me how do you say hi? Somebody, other than just saying hi. Hello, okay, cool. So if I say hello, okay, it identified its, so I'm training the model right now. Okay, what I'm doing right now, I'm training the model. Okay, so hello it identified as a greeting and I'm saying submit. Okay, so I'm training the model. I want to say yo. Yo is the way to say hello, right? So I say enter and it identified as a greeting. So I'm clicking on submit. So I'm saying different ways to say hi and hello for this guy to understand what I'm trying to say. I can also say, what's up?
Can you just download a profile that's already defined?
I'll tell you 1 minute. I'm just going to show that. So yeah, you can do that. So out here, you see here pre-built entities. this concept out here called pre-built entities. So it has a whole bunch of entities that can understand when you're talking about a number, you can understand when it's talking about a temperature, you can understand when it's talking about so many different kind of stuff. So these are pre-built already for you. So you don't have to train it to understand. So for example, when I'm talking about wake me in 20 minutes, okay? So it understands that you're talking about 20 minutes from now. Okay, so you want to select something called as time. There should be a date time function out here, right? When I say book me a flight for 23rd March 2018, okay? So I can say 07022017. So I don't have to tell it exactly what kind of regular expression or what kind of date format to expect. This machine or this should have enough intelligence embedded within it to understand the exact date that you're talking about. So you define these pre-built entities accordingly like that. So it's been pre-built for you. Okay? So now, we spoke about machine learning and training in Waterloo, right? So I've just trained this from a very basic perspective, how to identify a greeting, right? And I'm just going to click on this button down there. Down here on the left corner here, it's called train, right? Do you see that? On the bottom left, right? So I can click on train out here. So it's trained it. And now I need to publish it. So I just need to go here and click on publish and update the publish settings. Now, when I say terms like what's up, this backend will understand that I'm basically trying to greet it. Okay? So now if I say what's up, it basically spits out JSON. And for people who don't know what essentially, so think about it this way. My query is what I'm talking was what's up, and it has identified that I'm actually trying to greet. Okay? And it has, with a score, that's a score. So basically, this is what the machine learning components spat out, and it identified with a 99% probability that you are talking about greeting. Does that make sense? Does? Okay? And then it identifies the stop scoring intent and spits out, hey, what you're essentially trying to do is greeting. And then based on me identifying that greeting intent, I'm going to spit out answers to you. Now, for example, if I want to train the same backend to understand what is the weather, okay, so I'm going to add one more intent out here, and I'm going to add an intent, and I'm going to say weather. And one way to ask the weather is, what is the weather? What is the temperature in Boston? Okay? And it understood weather, and I click on submit. So, what are some of the other ways that you may ask about the weather?
How cold is it?
How cold is it? There you go. So, how cold is it in, say, Vancouver? Currently, it did not identify it with anything. That's why you see it's identifying against non-identifier. But I'm going to train it and say this is nothing but the way you ask weather. And I'm going to click on submit. So I'm training the backend model to understand different ways of asking weather. Yeah, you have a question?
Yeah, so this will work, but what if there's like one character missing or something? Could you super information if you want to do this for an exhaustive case where...
Oh yeah. So that's where the pre-built entities come into picture. Okay? There's one more example which I'm going to show you in a bit and how do you actually train it. But yeah.
How about if you ask, like, do I need an umbrella?
Sorry?
Do I need an umbrella?
Do you need an umbrella? Okay, yeah.
Is that too obscure?
No, that's not obscure. That's a way of asking. So basically asking whether it's going to rain or not. Right?
Yes.
So that's how you build it. Yeah, so I was basically training this guy, right? And now, once I've done that, once I've trained it to understand a little bit about the weather, all I need to do is again click on retrain. So I'm going to train it again. Okay, I'm going to train it again, and now it should be intelligent enough to identify when I'm asking about the weather. Okay, so after you train it, you always have to publish it. So I click on publish and I say what is the, I need to click on update. What is the weather in San Fran? So you see, okay, it has identified what I'm essentially asking about is the weather. But if I even ask it a question such as, now to your point, is it going to rain today? Okay? It actually identified it as a weather. I did not have to do anything. So it understands certain nuances. It has intelligence inbuilt already. So it understands, essentially I'm talking about weather right now. Okay? So this is the way you build. So this is the back end. And the front end can be created. Waterloo's. Yeah, I should have actually created it last night. Trained it well enough to actually answer questions for you guys. But let's see how it works here. Okay, so that is one way of creating natural language processing engines. If you did not have this tool in hand, you definitely had to create it from scratch. You had to create a machine learning algorithm, train the model, and it had to basically run through a whole bunch of data to understand these are the different intents, use some kind of a classifier, and get the output out, and things like that. So it's difficult to create everything from scratch. And there's a reason why these tools are being created by a whole lot of vendors to make it easier for you guys to do natural language processing. Okay? So let's see if it works. And I say hi. Alright. Fingers crossed, guys. Can you guys see the bottom end there? A little bit? So if I say, hey, it should say hi there again. Okay, I think hey is the wrong keyword out here. For some reason, it's not identifying hey. So yeah, it's go. So that's where. So this is where I need to look into my code out here and figure out why hey is not being identified. Okay, so that involves a bit of debugging on my part, and that is where web skills come into picture, and that is where I need to understand why is hey not being recognized or hitting the right intent. Okay, I think what happened here was I was trying to move something, and some dots or something went from here and there, and that's why it's not identifying. But ideally, it should have essentially identified this message from here. It should have identified this, and should have spat out that answer to me. I'm not really too sure if while doing up and down, zooming and zooming out, some spaces went here and there. Because that was the simplest thing I did. So basically, I had trained it to identify a greeting, identify a book, color when I'm talking the weather, when I'm talking the news. So these are the different intents I had trained it to identify. Somehow the code is just not working right now. Something's gone wrong there. So this is one of the things. Another interesting tool which has been developed is something called as a Q&A maker, right? In the Q&A maker, we have, so as I was telling you guys, right? Just open this file. Okay. So think about each and every company or each and every product line will have some kind of an FAQ page, right? And we spoke about how that FAQ page, instead of me as a user running through that FAQ page and identifying the right question, or the way you guys do it, right? You just go to the FAQ page, you do Control F, and you search for the keywords that you're looking for, right? Is that how you guys do it, rather than read through each and every question and answers, right? So that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is actually replace the FAQ page with a bot. And the bot should be capable enough to map one of your questions with one of the Q&As which are mentioned there. So the Q&A maker is pretty cool because what it does is that all you need to enter in this Q&A maker is the FAQ page link, and it will read through the web page and break it up into Q&As, question answer pairs. So in this case, I gave it, this is the source link of the FAQ page. It read through that page and it understood the different Q&A pairs. Okay, as simple as that. Okay, And now I have exposed the same thing as a bot. Fingers crossed to see if this bot works or not. Okay. So let me go back to my Bespark bot out here, and I say hi. So as you can see out here, what happened out here, I asked what is Bespark, and it spat out the answer of what Bespark is to me. Okay. In the past, I asked the question as to why was my application denied, and it gave me a reasoning as to why my application can be denied. Okay, so it's basically matching each one of these questions to a particular answer from the FAQ, and it's spitting the answer out. Okay, so these are different ways and different mechanisms in which so many chatbots are getting created these days. Okay, any questions? Yeah.
These are mostly text-based, not voice.
No, this is not voice. So what you can do with the voice, we have something called as Microsoft Cognitive Services. That's right. Yeah. So interesting you asked about Cortana. Now Cortana, so currently, okay, Cortana and Siri are only capable of doing X number of tasks. Okay, you can ask about the weather. You can set alarms for yourself. You can reply to texts. You can reply to emails. And essentially, what is happening out there is that it is capable of doing speech to text. Okay.
My question was just one sure that is text. So when we're talking about text, there can be a spelling error. What's the process, the general process? Is it first, for example, does it help to run a spell checker and correct? So first you get the spelling error.
Yeah.
Then, recognize which correct words are not actually supported by our lexicon engine or whatever you call it, and use it, what's called, thesaurus to put some synonyms that are recognized by our engine. Are these actually the processes taken or just?
Okay, so two things out here. One thing is, so a lot of companies, you've heard of IBM Watson. Okay, you've heard of Microsoft Cognitive Services. If you've not heard of it, that also exists. Amazon is also coming up with its set of APIs, but essentially, in the past, you had to write your own spell check engine and analyze with every input the user is giving. You need to understand whether the user is actually giving the right correct check or not. These days, all of that is being taken care of by an API call. So if you see out here, the first one, the first one you see is a Bing spell check. It's nothing but an API. Okay? So every time I've entered some text, the first thing you do is call this API and see whether there is spell check is happening or not. If it all, and it's all done for you. So you don't have to write your own module. You don't have to have your existing thesaurus or dictionary or whatever to do a checking to see whether you're spelling it right or wrong.
No, one question was, do they, the part that, for example, does certain analysis or certain type of knowledge, do they do these things themselves, or do they have to pre-process?
You have to code for it. You have to code for it. You have to make an API call.
Yeah, but okay, so they don't do they assume that spelling is correct.
Yes. So there are couple of more things out here, right? So when you're using Facebook Messenger, if you're typing something, by default, if something goes wrong, it becomes red line, which basically means Facebook has taken care of your spell checks. So in that case, you don't have to call for Bing spell check API out here to see what spellings you're using, right? So, so these are additional ways to actually add intelligence to your bot. There's language understanding, linguistic, text analytics, translator. With respect to if at all you want voice to text, speech to text, then you can use the speech to text APIs around here also. So Bing speech, so you use these APIs to actually understand speech, convert it into text, run the text through a natural language processing engine, and figure out what intent you're doing, and then take the conversation from there. In the next world, what is happening currently, as I was saying, Siri, Cortana only can do 4 or 5 different kind of intents. Okay, But now, for example, if you want to book a flight, you can directly ask Siri or Cortana to do it. I don't know whether Siri is integrating this functionality, but what Cortana is soon enabling is that it can call other bots. So for example, if Cortana realizes that you are trying to book a flight, it is building with Expedia or any of the other companies to have integration with those APIs. So if you say, I want to book a flight, Cortana should be smart enough to understand you want to book a flight, and then call the Expedia APIs or the Expedia bot to take that conversation for you. So there should be an overlay, or not an overlay, a relay of context from one bot to another bot in order to take this conversation forward.
Is it possible to get, for example, from Cortana, the task that you can't do, just get the transcript of what it is, get the transcript, although he doesn't know how to handle that, but can you give us the text so we can handle the text separately?
Oh yeah, so essentially, any text I'm entering right now can actually be, so essentially it's coding, right? So this is my coding platform. This is my coding platform. I can say whatever text I'm getting in, I can directly push it in, sync it into a database, right? And in that database, I can have different columns saying, hey, this was identified with this particular intent, or this was identified with none intents. So from my understanding perspective, I can understand what are the different things my users are trying to say which I not understand. So I'm going to add that bit of intelligence later on onto my code. More and more people start using it. I understand how my users are using my bot, and then I can start adding those intelligence.
So basically, Cortana does give that kind of text to us.
Programming construct for you to code for that, yes. Yeah.
The pre-computed models you mentioned, there's statistics about how many sentences it's trained on. The models you said we can use instead of entering a code.
I don't know the statistics if it exists or not, but
but there is pre-computed models. So
oh yeah, absolutely. So the cognitive services which I showed you is essentially based on live data. So there have been people, machine learning data scientists, who have trained models running on millions and millions of data, large data sets, to create very holistic APIs which are reading from these training models which are created to spit out answers to you. So yeah. Anyone else, guys? Any other questions? You guys had any other expectation from this talk other than what I showed? Then I'm happy to answer that also. Yeah.
You predict that there'll be an ability to hook bots into personal messaging.
Mm-hmm.
For example, one thing I find annoying with text messages is unsolicited advertising.
Yeah.
I'd prefer something that would actually not only be able to filter but interact with some basic things that I might have.
Right.
So if somebody's asking me, hey, are you available? Do a calendar check, and I'm not available. I'm playing tennis for 2 hours. It could do it automatically.
Absolutely. So that can be integrated. So for example, within Cortana can be trained in order to understand which personal texts are hitting you. Or, I don't know whether Facebook has done it yet, and Skype also, because essentially it's your user profile, so you can have a bot created to answer or respond to texts which are hitting the Skype framework.
Interesting.
And then you can do it. So those functionality do not exist yet, but it's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible to do that.
Might be a business.
Absolutely. And that is where you'll see a lot of bots coming into the picture. Yeah.
How do you monetize this if you're in the business of making bots? So is it a one-time or is it a long-term commitment where you train and support the bot as well?
Yeah. So that's what I spoke about. Think about it as an engagement channel with your customer. Okay. Think about bot as a way to increase your engagement levels with the customer, and then through that you can suggest the customer, hey, now this is what product you should be looking at. Okay, so that can be a good sales channel for you. It helps in saving costs. Okay, one person would have otherwise been monitoring what the user wants to talk to you. You are saving costs out there, right? So it helps in saving costs, basically automating and optimizing workflows. And it also can act like a good sales channel for you, but that has to be really well thought out as to how do you do that. You cannot be pushy. You cannot, with everything, you cannot just, say that, hey, buy this, So again, you have to think through the design process. You've got to think through the user flow or the user profile who will be using the bot. Yeah.
So how much does this service cost for you?
So currently, if you host it on Azure, so as I was saying, think about a bot as a website. So how much you would be spending to host a website, you should be spending that much amount. If you have more and more users hitting your bot, there will be more and more compute resources needed to support the particular bot. Okay? So it all depends upon the user. For example, right now, I am hosting it on Azure, and it's initially how much ever I would spend on hosting a website, I can create a bot on a standard profile and spend 30 to 40 bucks a month, or I can create on a free profile and spend $0 a month. But in that case, my responses will be that much more slower.
But does it have to be hosted on Azure, or can
No.
you host it on?
You can host it on anywhere.
But then in that case, if it's we own the machine, there's no ongoing cost then, right? Or does Microsoft cost us for the intelligence?
Oh no. So yeah, so two things out here. The intelligence, if at all you're using the Microsoft Cognitive Services. So if, for example, if I'm using Bing Speech, there is a free tier. So you can go to pricing. So there's a free tier. So in free tier, it can handle up to 5,000 calls, as in 5,000 times you can call the API per month for free. And if at all it's more than that, then you pay $4 per call and things like that. Yeah.
There are some questions which will not be transferred, but does your platform has the redirecting to the person?
Yeah, so that's where, for example, that's where the programming construct comes into picture. So for example, here, you see it's got a none intent, right? It's got a none intent. So if it cannot identify with the intents I have defined, it hits the none intent, and in that none intent, I can directly say, either sync this particular query from the user into a database, or I can send a notification to the user to respond to you.
And is there any platform which our personnel can use to reply to the questions, or they can use anything like Skype?
Yeah. Okay. So let me just pull out Skype out here just to talk to the user experience. In this case, okay, if it doesn't identify what I'm trying to say, it is going to identify with the none intent. Now within Cortana, that process to overlay, or rather to relay the chat context, comes into picture. Okay, Skype is not yet capable to do that. That functionality is not yet come into picture, but it's going to come soon. As to how do you relay from one conversation to another contact person, maintaining the context. In this case, the simplest way I can think about of doing it is that I'm going to save each and every conversations into a database, and then I'm going to, whenever the none identifier is hit, then I'm going to reach out and notify a particular customer support sitting in person and let him know this is what the conversation was. This is what the contact details of this particular user is. Reach out to him and help him out.
And our support customer reach the customer in the same chat.
In the same chat. That's what I'm saying. The relay process has not yet been. Yeah, it is possible, but that relay process has not yet been, GA. It's not yet generally available. But that's a functionality of the future which is coming. Yes, you're right. Cool.
Perfect.
All right.
Fantastic. That was a fantastic presentation.
Thank you so
Hopefully now
much.
a little bit more.